Hey there, I'm Lainey Lipsky, parenting coach and master teacher. Welcome to my free class, 5 Steps to Become a Calmer Parent and Get Cooperation from Your Strong-Willed Child Without Yelling, Nagging, Bribing, Threats, or Shame. I'm totally psyched and honored that you're here. And I know you're super busy and your time is valuable, and I don't want to waste one precious minute of it. I totally get it. I'm a mom too. So the thing is, I've got some great information for you in this class, and I'm going to give it to you just as fast as I can. And if you need to pause the class for any reason, that's fine. Just keep the window open so you can pick up where you left off, okay? All right. I want to give you my personal guarantee that I am not here to make you feel judged or to feel guilty at all. You are a parent, you're doing your best, and I know that that's true. And the fact that you're even here watching this class says so many good things about you. I also want to give you my guarantee that I will only be offering practical suggestions in this class. I don't do fluff, I don't do woo-woo, that's not my style. So that's what I'm going to be giving to you in this class. I also want to assure you that you're going to feel empowered and clear in a way that you may have never felt before by the end of this class. And at the very end of class, I'll be offering a free 45-minute coaching session for people who are eligible. So you'll want to stick around to the very end to find out if you qualify for that, okay? All right, cool. Let's make sure you're in the right place before we get into the information. I designed this class personally, and I designed it for parents who are loving, but they're feeling really frustrated and overwhelmed, and they're worried about how things are going because they have a strong-willed child. This is for parents who want respect and cooperation without all the yucky stuff, the yelling and the bribes and the nagging and the shame and the threats. They've tried all that, it's not working. This is also for parents who want to feel calmer, more in control, and happier as they're raising their strong-willed child. So if that sounds like you're in the right place. Here's what we're going to cover. We're going to go over what it takes to parent your strong-willed child in the short term. I'm going to talk to you about unique traits of strong-willed children, how to discipline them without breaking their little spirits, and how to be calmer and to reclaim your own sanity as you are raising your strong-willed child. We're also going to touch on how to parent your strong-willed child for the long term. The approach I'm going to teach you will allow you to raise your strong-willed child to become a happy, successful, and respectful adult who has great childhood memories. We're also going to talk about how to build a happy family and a healthy home with your strong-willed child, even if you weren't raised in one of those yourself. So if any of that sounds good to you, you're in the right place. Okay, and just to let you know that you are in good hands for this training, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Lainey Lipsky. I'm a parenting coach and master teacher with my double degrees from Brown University. I'm an author and a speaker. I teach parenting classes and run workshops. I also practice yoga and meditation, and I have a background as an elite athlete and an athletic coach. And I weave all of those best practices into my parenting coaching methods. The most important thing I want you to know about me, though, is that I am an imperfect mom. I never claim to be perfect at this. And also, I have 2 strong-willed kids myself, so I know exactly what you're going through. All right, let's get moving with a first question. Is your child strong-willed? That may be something that you say, and maybe you think you do, but let's be sure, okay? Here are hands down definite traits of strong-willed kids. They have intense angry outbursts. They demand to know why. They can argue forever. They want to be in charge. They refuse to do things unless they want to do them. If you're like nodding along, if it sounds familiar, great. They can be impatient. They love to make their own rules. They insist on getting what's due or what's owed to them. They can ignore warnings, and they love to move at their own pace. Does that sound like your child? You know, some kids have these traits a little bit some of the time, but when your child has these traits daily or frequently, you know you've got a strong-willed kid. I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know. That's them. Let's talk about you for a second. Does any of this sound like you? And you can just nod along if this sounds familiar or feels like you sometimes. Do you dread waking up in the morning because you know the day is going to be full of meltdowns and struggles? Do you walk around on eggshells to avoid conflict with your strong-willed child? Or do you just reflexively say no all the time? Or do you kind of flip-flop in between those 2 strategies? And do you fall into bed at night feeling depleted and resentful and worried about how things are going with your family because you have a strong-willed child? And does any of this sound like you? These are things that parents have written to me over the years. I've tried everything, nothing works. I'm sick and tired of the battles. I can't tell you the last time I had a day with love and fun, one without regret, resentment, shame, or guilt. I secretly wish my kid was like other kids I see, and I feel so guilty about that. I sound just like my mother, even though I swore I'd be different. I often feel like a bad parent. I'm worried that I'm creating emotional scars. I feel helpless and out of control. I just want to have a happy home. Does any of that sound like you? And if you're totally honest, deep down, are you kind of terrified that you're out of gas, out of ideas, and that your whole family is going to suffer long term if things don't start to change soon? If any of that sounds like you, hang in there. Help is here. And I've got good news for you. All of that stuff, that negative stuff I was just talking about, all that pain, those are just symptoms. It means that you haven't made what I call the shifts. You haven't made them yet. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this class. And once you make the 5 shifts that I tell you in this class, you're going to be able to greet your days with more optimism and more confidence while you raise your strong-willed child. You're going to know how to handle their big emotions and set clear boundaries. You'll also be able to relax in the evening and dream more about the future instead of worrying about it so much. You're going to finally feel like, I got this. And you're going to be able to see your strong-willed child in a whole new light. And you'll stop wishing them to be different because you'll come to appreciate their strengths. You'll have what it takes to build a happy, healthy family, even if you weren't raised in one. And your future family gatherings like holidays and birthdays and anniversaries, all that stuff is going to be filled with fun and full of love. And today I want to teach you these 5 shifts so you can feel calm, clear, and confident starting right now. All right, so I'm just going to quickly tell you how I even came up with these 5 shifts. I started working with kids about 30 years ago, and they were all strong-willed or challenging in some way. It was at a special camp for difficult kids. So when I became a mom, I thought I was totally prepared for anything. But the truth is, I was only half prepared. My kids were both strong-willed from day one for sure. So I had lots of tools for handling their behavior from my prior experience. But honestly, my kids triggered things from my own childhood, which had a fair share of unhappiness and dysfunction. And I felt unhappy a lot. I was edgy and dissatisfied and totally exhausted, like to the point where I'd be putting them to bed at 7:30 and I would just conk out next to them and not wake up until the next day. And I kept telling myself that we were going to survive because that's what everyone kept telling me to do. And even though I wanted things to be better, I knew that they weren't getting any better. I didn't want to just survive. I wanted to thrive. And then one day I got a really painful wake up call from my son. He was about 2 or 3 at the time. And I was sitting at my kitchen table having a cup of tea. And kind of out of nowhere, he came up to me and he said, "Mommy, you're sad." Just like kind of matter of fact, he just like blurted out the truth. And I was like, I wasn't crying and I wasn't angry. I wasn't doing anything that would make me look like I was sad, but he felt that I was sad. He was picking up on it because he was strong-willed and sensitive. And he was right. I wasn't happy and I clearly wasn't faking it very well. And my heart sank and I felt like I had been hit in the gut because the one thing I promised myself when I became a mom was that I would create a happy home, even though I hadn't been raised in one myself. And I knew that a happy home had to start with happy parents. But I wasn't happy and clearly, like I said, I wasn't faking it very well. So I knew I had some work to do. I needed to put all the pieces together inside and out. So I got to work and I started learning tools for managing my own emotions and my own reactions and started to feel much better as I became the mom that I deeply wanted to be inside and out. And after a while, I started teaching my approach to other parents, and then I started teaching classes, and then I developed my own private parenting coaching practice. And I found that my methods worked really well for all parents, but they worked especially well for parents who had strong-willed kids because that's really who they had been designed for, my own kids who were strong-willed. Does that make sense? So as I watched these parents thriving, I started to take notes and I noticed that they were all taking the same 5 steps. It was kind of like a formula for success. And that is exactly what I want to teach you today. So let's dive in and let's start with the first shift. So bad behavior is good. And now I know this looks crazy and you might be like, no, but maybe it sounds counterintuitive, but trust me, this is the mindset shift that's going to change everything for you. And it's also the secret to getting more cooperation from your strong-willed child. So here's the deal. Bad behavior is like a trail of breadcrumbs that can help you parent your strong-willed child more effectively. Their quote unquote bad behaviors are actually helpful clues that lead you to discover positive tools for managing them. Now, that doesn't mean you let unacceptable behaviors just slide and that you watch by the sidelines. It means that you have to learn how to lean in and get curious about them and not furious. It is totally possible to crack the code of your strong-willed child's behavior so you can get the cooperation you want and stop the constant battles. You don't have to bargain your way through parenthood or engage in endless negotiations. You can ditch the timeouts, the sticker charts, the counting to three, all that stuff that isn't working with your strong-willed child. And I know you might be thinking something like, well, nothing works with my child. I tried all that stuff. Everything sets them off. I never know what to expect or when to expect it. And I feel like I'm just living with a ticking time bomb over here. Am I right? Are you like nodding your head yes over there? Okay, well, let's figure out what's going on, okay? There are definite underlying needs to your strong-willed child's quote unquote bad behavior. They're seeking attention, maybe they're seeking power, they could be seeking emotional connection, they might have a physical need that's going unmet, or they might be reacting or mirroring your own emotional state, kind of like what I was saying about my son when he was just reflecting back to me how unhappy I was. So you definitely need skills to be managing life with your strong-willed child so that you can feel good inside and out. And these are the essential skills that you need to parent your strong-willed child. You need to be able to help them manage their emotions and their behavior, which I call the outer skills. And you need to be able to manage your own emotions and your own behavior, which I call the inner skills. And that leads us to shift number 2, get out of control. Okay, and I know this shift might sound weird and you might be like, Lainey, I'm already out of control. I'm yelling my head off every day over here. That's why I came to this class. But I want you to know that what I mean by getting out of control means that you are stepping out of your false beliefs about control. There are 2 beliefs you might have about control that are actually keeping you stuck. Number 1, maybe you believe that your child's behavior means that you're actually a good or a bad parent. And let's address that because it's not true. Your child's behavior says more about your child than it actually says anything about you, period. But how you react to your child's behavior may accidentally be making your child's behavior even worse, which makes you in turn want to control more, and it becomes a bad cycle. Does that make sense? Okay. And the second belief that you might have is that controlling your child now will help them control themselves in the future. And again, that's just not true. In fact, it's the opposite. The research is showing us again and again that kids who have controlling parents grow up to be less successful in the places where they need the most self-control. 3 areas: school, work, and relationships. Because those kids have never learned the skills of controlling themselves when their parents were always in control. Does that make sense? Okay. The problem with control is that it is actually the tool of shame. And anybody who's familiar with shame research, or Brene Brown, if that name is familiar to you, knows that shame damages relationships, it destroys self-esteem, and it leaves emotional scars. And constantly trying to control your child puts you in constant power struggles. And I guarantee that unless you use scare tactics or toxic levels of shame, your strong-willed child is going to win because they have their whole self to put into that battle in that moment, and you just don't. You've got a million other things going on, right? You've got laundry, groceries, work, carpools, what's for dinner. All these things are swirling through your head. Your child is so focused on that battle at that moment. So you're actually at a huge disadvantage in those moments, which is why you end up yelling or trying to bribe your way out of the hostage situation that you find yourself in so often with your strong-willed child. And so you end up saying things like, get your shoes on now, or else you're not going to that birthday party. Or if you put your shoes on now, I'll get you ice cream later, that kind of thing. Your back is against the wall. So of course you're trying these tactics. Why wouldn't you? The only problem is it really doesn't work with your strong-willed child. I mean, maybe it does from time to time, but you know it's not a long-term strategy that you can rely on and that they're going to grow out of it one day. And plus, it just feels crappy at the end of the day, right? And punishments, you know by now, don't work with strong-willed kids either because eventually they just don't care. They just want to win. And I'm going to talk about that more in a moment. Right now, what you need is some kryptonite so you can diffuse all of those power struggles. I got you, okay? So in a word, here is the antidote to shame in all of its form. Boom, empathy. When you step out of control and step into empathy, you can drop the rope. The power of empathy, and again, this refers to a lot of Brene Brown's research, is that it gets cooperation, stops meltdowns, builds success, connection, and self-esteem. But the hitch here as parents is that it's new to most of us. Most of us were raised with all the controlling and the shame tactics when we were kids. And so when our backs are against the wall and we open up our mouths, that's why all that stuff is coming out. So it's hard to do it for our own kids when we don't know how to do it ourselves. And I know all of that sounds really great. And I know that a lot of you have probably already tried using empathy and you're still not getting the cooperation you want from your strong-willed child. And that's because you actually need tools that are rooted in empathy, not just empathy itself, because empathy is not a complete strategy to discipline your strong-willed child. And don't worry, I am going to give you some of those best tools in a little bit. So just stay with me, okay? This brings me to the next shift. Shift number 3 is the new discipline formula, or the 3 C's. It's the best way to discipline strong-willed children. First, I want to tell you why typical discipline does not work with strong-willed children. Control tactics actually trigger your strong-willed child to their fight or their flight mode. Yelling, blame, bribing, nagging, and threats just raise the temperature, which tends to trigger strong-willed children because it taps into shame and it makes them super defensive. Shame can sometimes turn behavior on a dime. So sometimes parents think, oh, well, that worked, but eventually it doesn't work. And more importantly, over time, shame will damage kids and your relationship with them. And that's how emotional scars happen. And I know we don't want that, okay? The second thing about why typical discipline doesn't work with your strong-willed child is that they are actually wired to fight back and they want to win. As you know, they have such strong wills and they just don't give up. They have incredible stamina. They can outlast almost anybody. And one day they're going to make great lawyers and business people and negotiators. But today, you just need more cooperation. I totally get it. So the approach that's going to work for disciplining your strong-willed child is going to be to invite them in and to get them to onboard more, right? To get them to participate more. And that is a whole strategic approach. You want to end up feeling like you're in charge, but you're not fighting for control minute after minute, day after day. Okay, so now I want to go over how you're likely trying to solve most of the problems with your strong-willed child, and then I'm going to show you a new, better way. Classic scenarios for battles with strong-willed kids are transitions, right? They can be nightmares for parents. An example for a 2-year-old might be getting out of the bathtub and ready for bed. For a 6-year-old, it could be putting away the Legos or the toys and getting ready for dinner. For a 12 or older child, it could be turning off the phone or stopping their texting with their friends to do homework or to do their chores. The details don't matter and the age really doesn't matter because being strong-willed is a personality type and it's not just going to magically go away. And what matters is that these and other basic daily things become battles and meltdowns with your strong-willed child. That's what really matters here, and we want to interrupt that. So let's see what's happening. So what's likely happening is that you start off by asking nicely, right? You use your nice voice and you're all calm. I know you're doing your best over there. All right, but what happens is that they say no, or worse, you get ignored. It's the worst when we get ignored. So you ask again, but this time you've got an edge to your voice. So you're like, will you please stop texting? Will you please come to dinner, right? You definitely feel yourself getting edgy, but it doesn't work. So maybe you keep repeating yourself, or you throw in a bribe like clean up now and you'll get dessert. Or maybe you throw in a threat like stop texting or I'm going to take away your phone. Or maybe you throw in some shame for good measure, like stop being a bad boy and listen to me, right? And somewhere along the line, you probably started yelling and you catch yourself and you're like, why am I yelling again? But look, if you've ever done or said any of these things, it doesn't mean you're a bad parent, okay? It really doesn't. It just means that you're stuck in a pattern and I want to help you break it. Okay, so maybe they listen, maybe they don't, but maybe they do, but you still feel awful. And maybe you think to yourself, well, they only listen when I yell, and then you go to bed at night feeling guilty again. Or maybe you think, well, something I said worked, but I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the bribe. And you have no real way of knowing. So you go to bed second guessing yourself, and that is a bad place to be at night. And the next time that it happens, you feel like a rookie all over again, and the cycle starts anew. And so now you feel stuck in a painful spot. And of course you want answers because you're a good parent and you want things to go smoother and you want to go better. But what happens when you start searching for answers is that you get what I call the rabbit hole experience. Boom. You get the books, You go online, you read the blogs, you start texting friends, you reach out to family and friends, maybe you even ask your pediatrician. But what happens is you start getting flooded. You get flooded with bad advice, maybe some good advice. It's all conflicting, it's all confusing. And then you get judged because you're not actually fixing the problem, or maybe you're judging yourself for not fixing the problem. So instead of feeling better, you actually feel worse. You feel like a bad parent all over again. You tell yourself things like, I wasn't cut out for this, or they got the wrong parent, or I got the wrong kid, or I can't do this anymore. This is what people tell me every day. You feel frustrated, you feel sad, and deep down, you feel really, really worried. You feel worried about your strong-willed child, about your other kids if you have other kids, maybe even about your marriage and your own mental health. So you want answers, of course, because you're feeling so confused. And you want a strategy that you can follow and know that you're on the right path. And you want solutions that fit your family so you can put all of the pieces together and be happy again. I got you. I want to share with you a much better way for handling discipline with your kids. And it's what I call the new discipline formula. It is contain, connect, and coach. Those three steps, always in that order. First, you contain your own reaction to your child, you connect with them, and then you coach them to move on so you can have a good day and move past that difficult moment. And I got lucky here with my camera. This is actually my husband and our daughter when she was just a little girl. And I caught my husband doing Contain, Connect, Coach. And I'm not saying he's perfect. He's not, I'm not, our kids are not perfect, but I did want to show you that it is so much more peaceful way to get the harmony that you want in your family. And it's not what my husband and I were raised with, and yet it feels so much better for us. And I just wanted to share that with you. So this is the new way. You use the 3 C's, you end up eliminating the meltdowns, you get more cooperation, and you learn how to stay in charge as a parent instead of fighting for control. And you end up as a person feeling more confident. You and your kids are more connected. As a family, you're more relaxed, you have more fun, you have more harmony, and you get to build a new family legacy if that is something that you're trying to do. And I just want to say a couple of words about that for a moment. If you are looking to end some kind of generational dysfunction, you are so not alone. The research says that up to 96% of us were raised with some kind of dysfunction growing up. 96% of us. And I want you to know that it is totally possible to raise a healthy, happy family, even if you weren't raised in one yourself. I see it happening every day, and I'm doing it myself. It takes work. Anything that's worth doing takes work, but it is possible. So I just want to share with you how amazing it is to watch your children grow up with healthy relationships. Getting to know that they're going to attract healthy partners and raise their own kids well one day just makes your heart lighter and your mind relax. And it makes it easier to breathe and much, much easier to sleep at night, knowing that you're on this path. And that's parenting gold right there, if you ask me. And you can have it too. Honestly, if others can do it, and if I can do it, you can too. All right, so this approach works great once you get it down pat, and I've taught it to thousands of people at this point, and I see it working time and time again. And don't worry about writing the 3 C's down. I'm going to email it to you after class, so just keep a lookout for that. And of course, check your spam and promotions, because even though I send it to you, doesn't mean it's going to go to your inbox, so just keep a lookout for that, okay? So before we move on, let's do a quick recap of the first 3 shifts. Number 1 is that bad behavior is actually good. It's those breadcrumbs that we were talking about. Getting out of control is the mindset that you need to adopt so that you can step into empathy. And number 3 is the new discipline formula, which I shared with you, or the 3 C's: contain, connect, and coach. All right, that brings us to a little bit of inspiration from a client who I will call Gabby. I've changed her name for privacy. Gabby was yelling so much at her 3 girls that her throat was physically hurting her at night. And her oldest daughter was much older than the other 2. And she told Gabby how all of the yelling had made her feel so scared and mad when she was a young girl. She was able to verbalize what the younger girls weren't able to verbalize. And of course, hearing this, Gabby just had a broken heart because she was raised by a mom who yelled a ton, and she had swore that she was going to do it differently, but she just couldn't make it happen. And meanwhile, her strong-willed child, her youngest one, was driving her crazy. And as a result of learning the 3 C's and working together, Gabby reported that she stopped yelling completely, that there's no screaming in our home anymore. Now I know how to get my strong-willed child's cooperation without giving up my parental authority. She's staying in charge, right? And I rekindled my love for all of my girls, and I enjoy them so much more now. I'm just so proud of her. And a little bit more inspiration from a parent who I will call Jen. She wrote, I used to be a total control freak. I worried all the time. I was at war with myself and with my kids. And I don't yell anymore. It's so freeing. Now I'm the one my friends ask for parenting advice. I never imagined that would happen. I get stuff like this all the time. So I'm just happy to be able to share them with you now. All right, that brings us to shift number 4, committing to thrive. This is another mindset shift, okay? What I'm going to ask you to do here is drop your low level thinking. And this is going to be the glue that holds everything together that we've talked about so far. Because when you take this step, when you drop the low level thinking, everything shifts. The truth is that committing to thrive is crucial when you have a strong-willed child, because everything in the culture is going to tell you to do the opposite. You already know this, right? We are told to settle for crumbs when we have a difficult kid. We're told parenting is hard, they'll survive, and this is my favorite, be grateful, right? Be grateful for what you do have. Listen, I love the practice of being grateful and gratitude, but it is a practice. It's not a solution. Being grateful when things feel awful will remove some of the sting, some of the time, but it will not help you make the real changes that you need to make to have peace and harmony with your strong-willed child. Being grateful can actually keep you stuck in painful patterns. Does that make sense? Okay, so yeah, I say practice gratitude for sure, but don't let go of your dream of having a happy family. In fact, I am here taking a stand for you to have a happy family, and I want you to take a stand for your family too, okay? So I want you to drop the survival mindset. I want you to believe that you and your family can thrive. I also want you to accept that strong-willed kids require more of us, and that's okay, because once you get all right with that truth and those facts, you can take on the training and the awareness that you need in order to really work with them and shape them into those strong people that they are destined to become. Also, I want you to know that parenting is learned. Those inner and outer skills that I talked about, parenting a strong-willed kid does not come naturally. Again, 96% of us were raised in some kind of dysfunction, which means what's coming out of our mouth when we are being stressed and triggered by our strong-willed kid is going to be some sort of dysfunctional something, okay? I don't know the details. I don't know those yet, but guaranteed that parenting is a learned skill, does not come naturally. All right. And what's going to happen once you allow yourself to commit to thriving is you will be able to step into what you actually want for your family. Maybe this is a dream that you buried and you haven't felt in a very long time, like since you were pregnant or since you were waiting for your child if you adopted your child, right? These are some things that parents have shared with me that they want, their dreams and their visions for their personal families. I want our home to be a place that feels loving and safe. I want to love spending time with my son again. I want our daughter to be raised by a happy mommy. I want strong, healthy bonds with our kids. I want them to want to visit us when they're older. And I am totally curious, my friend, watching this right now, what is your dream? What's that little dream that you've tucked away, or that dream that nags at you that you're like, I really want this outcome for my family? What is it? I'm so curious. All right, let's get some more inspiration here for you to hold on to, okay? We're gonna call this mom Amy, and Amy has 2 boys, one of whom is a super strong-willed kid. And she knew that she was going to have troubles with him from day one. He was strong-willed from the get-go, and he was going to trigger a lot of her personal past stuff. She just was unable to stay calm inside or out. She was yelling all the time. She was in constant battles, and she ended her days exhausted and filled with guilt. Does that sound familiar? She wanted a parenting approach that was totally different from how she had been raised so that she could build her own family legacy. And when we worked together, these are the results that she had. She said, I have incredible parenting tools now, things I didn't even know existed. My son melts down way less, and we have more days that are full of fun. I feel more energized, relaxed, patient, and clear-headed. And she wrote, this always gets me emotional, sorry. I am now the mom that I wish I had. So beautiful. And I feel at ease knowing my son won't have to recover from childhood. It doesn't get any better than that. Okay, last bit of inspiration from Mark, who has 4 challenging kids, and his wife is a licensed marriage and family therapist. They were all stuck at home during COVID, and he wrote to me this long post, and this was in our group, and he wrote, "For the first time, we've got this." And I am just so proud of all these people doing this work to make sure that they have healthy, happy homes. You can do it too. Okay, so that takes us to our 5th and final shift: invest in coaching. When you have a strong willed kid, coaching is essential because they require more of you. Because, as you already know, the usual methods and the usual tips are just not enough. Am I right? I mean, I remember reading all of the parenting books and the blogs, and I couldn't find my kids in any of them. And I felt so frustrated and I felt so alone and like a failure way too often. And I resisted also getting help at first because I felt like I should be able to do this by myself. And there was something wrong with me if I couldn't figure it out. I don't know if that's true for you, but it took me a long time. But eventually I did realize that I did need more support because I had kids who were requiring more of me. I didn't have the easy kids. I couldn't compare my kids to other kids who were easy. I couldn't compare my parenting experience to other parents' experiences who had easy kids. So, did I have to swallow some pride before I got help? Yes, but I'm very glad that I did. Okay. Parenting is a skill, and strong willed kids are going to require that their parents have extra skills, all of those inner and the outer skills that I talked about before, okay? And I want you to know that great parents aren't born, it doesn't come naturally. Great parents are actually trained. And you can get away with parenting easy kids in a whole variety of ways, and they're going to end up okay. But with strong willed kids, you need to know how to parent them in a specific way, have an approach that is going to get the best results for them so that you don't break their little spirits. And that takes training because we weren't raised with that kind of parenting ourselves. And these inner and outer skills, they're not just for your kids, they're for your well being and for your entire family's well being, because your family is not going to be happy and healthy if you yourself are not happy and healthy. Okay. I'm looking out for you too. All right. Heads up though, I really don't want you to try this alone. I tried it for years by myself. Maybe you've already tried it by yourself for years. It's not fun. You don't get the results that you're after, and you end up just feeling alone, and it goes a lot slower than it has to. All right. So take the shortcut, get some coaching, trust me. And when it comes to choosing a coach, I want you to get the best one that you can possibly get, because again, I am here taking a stand for you and your family, and I want you to get the best that you can get because your family is really, really worth it. So I want to give you a checklist of what to look for when you are considering working with somebody, okay? So here's the checklist. You want to look for somebody who is a master teacher, somebody who knows how to deliver information in a simple way and a variety of ways in case you don't understand it the first time, the first way. You want somebody who's going to know strong-willed kids inside and out. You want somebody who's going to be pushing you to work on your mindset, because you're going to have to be making some shifts in your mindset when you have a strong-willed kid. You're going to look for somebody who's going to hold you accountable in a loving way, not be judgmental or make you feel guilty or ashamed. That doesn't help at all. You want somebody who has proven results with a lot of people, and you want somebody who has a wide perspective and they're not just teaching one form of parenting, kind of like a one size fits all deal, because parenting is not a one size fits all and it's not a color by numbers proposition. Okay. So that's your checklist for what you're looking for. So now it's time for you to ask yourself a couple of questions, and we're going to get real here for a couple of minutes. All right. First of all, how much energy are you spending on your strong-willed child? How much energy are you spending struggling with them, worrying about them, apologizing for them, maybe even making excuses for them? And how much longer can you go on like this? Maybe you're like totally hardcore and you're like, I can do this as long as it takes, but do you really need to struggle and suffer as much as you are? Or could you possibly handle making it a little bit easier for yourself? Could you use a little, assistance? Could you use an arm up or a leg up in this case? Okay. Think about all the energy that this takes up in your life. If most of your energy is sucked up by 10 a.m. by getting out of the door with a kid who refuses to budge on the daily, then what do you have left for the rest of your day, or for your other kids if you have other kids, or for your partner if you have a partner, for your coworkers or your boss or your employees if you are working outside the home as well? And most of all, what do you have left for yourself? I'm just curious. Imagine how relieving and liberating it would feel to leave the house on time, to be able to diffuse the meltdowns on a dime and have energy for your other relationships and your other interests. What if what if your current parenting problems were resolved and didn't dominate your life anymore? What would you do with all of that time and headspace? Would you read a book? Would you write a book? Would you watch a movie? Would you reconnect with your old friends? I don't know. I'm totally curious. And I want you to be curious too, because this is your life too. It's not just life lived for your kids, it's your life too. Okay. So the truth is that if you need to course correct, and you know that you need to course correct, the time to start is now. There is no time to wait, okay? The kids keep growing, the years pass, the days pass, the months and the years, they go very quickly when you look back on them. So start now. And one final reminder here is that we really only get one shot to be a parent to each child, and they get one shot at having a happy childhood. So I want to encourage you. I want to take a stand for you and for your kids, and let's make it count. Okay. All right. So those are the 5 shifts that you need to win with your strong-willed child. Number 1, bad behavior is good. Number 2, get out of control. Number 3, the new discipline formula, which are the 3 C's. And again, I'm going to email those to you, so be on the lookout for those. Number 4, commit to thrive. Number 5, invest in coaching. These 5 steps are the proven formula to parent your strong-willed child with confidence, ease, and joy. And now, my friend, you have an emotional choice to make, okay? Most decisions in life are logical, but this one is purely a gut check. So I want to be honest here for a second. The truth is you can keep going the way that you're going now, but I'm going to tell you that what I've found is that parenting problems with strong-willed kids especially do not tend to get better over time. They do tend to get worse. The battles and the meltdowns continue, and over time the old methods become habits, and you get stuck in bad cycles that become harder and harder to break. For the parents, your stress load can turn into feelings of anxiety and depression, plus shame and guilt on top of that, because even though you want to do things differently, you're stuck in this painful cycle. And that's the worst part, if you ask me, is knowing that you want to do it differently, but being stuck in the way you're doing it now and going to bed at night feeling awful, guilty, resentful, worried, all of that stuff. That awareness of wanting to do it differently, but being stuck is so painful. I've been there. I talk to people every day who are there, and I know how hard it is. It totally sucks. So here's the deal. You have an option. You can choose to change. This is your other choice, okay? If you're tired of dealing with all the pain and you're honestly ready to step into your power and reclaim your sanity, then you can make a simple decision and you can change. You can choose to make change that will lead you to feel confident, so you can stop second guessing yourself, and you can stop second guessing your parenting choices, and you can feel confident that you're able to handle whatever challenges your strong-willed child throws your way. You can make the change that will help you to feel light, so you can relax and let your shoulders down and laugh more often, to feel loving, so you can enjoy and connect with your strong-willed child every single day, to feel sane, so you have more bandwidth and stop feeling so overwhelmed all the time, to feel proud as you become the parent you've always wanted to be, and to feel at ease, knowing that you'll have healthy bonds with your strong-willed child for life, and that your future family gatherings will be filled with love, and that your strong-willed child will have happy family childhood memories. If that's the kind of change that you want, then here's what I can do for you. My team and I have set aside some time to speak with you personally about how you can apply these shifts to your life, to your family, and to your strong-willed child starting immediately. And listen, I know this stuff can be really hard to talk about, and some of you may have never talked about it before and you're still trying to figure it out on your own. But trust me, whatever your challenge is, we have seen it and we know how to handle it. And if we can't, we will point you in another direction, okay? You're going to feel heard and understood like never before. You're going to feel like a weight has been lifted. This is what people tell me every time after we talk to them. So I am absolutely sure that you're going to feel this way too. And just as a reminder, the cost for this is absolutely free. You've got nothing to lose, okay? All right, let's figure out if the free session is for you because it is honestly not for everybody. I have 3 requirements for people who qualify and are eligible for this free session. Number one, you've got to be committed and coachable. And that means that you want to fix this problem right now, that it's really a priority for you, and that you are open to new ideas, that you're tired of the old stuff. Number two, you've got to be reflective, which means that you see yourself as part of the solution. Number three, you've got to be someone who's looking for a long-term solution. You're not looking for band-aids or sticker charts. If that's what you're looking for, please hop on over to Pinterest and check that stuff out. I don't mean to sound rude, but that's not what we're doing over here. We are actually helping people build new family legacies from the inside out. We have a system for doing it. We know what we're doing, and that's the kind of person who we can really help in this session, okay? So in case you're wondering why we're offering this free session, I'll just tell you straight up. We do this because we know that parenting is the most important work in the world and that we can help the world heal one family at a time. We want you to thrive. We don't just want you to survive. That is so low level thinking, okay? We know strong-willed kids like nobody's business. I told you I've got 2 of my own, and we just know them inside and out. And also, we really do believe that we are in this together, okay? Also, realistically, some people are going to want my help to reach their family goals and their parenting goals. And if that's true for you, we can discuss it and we'll see if it's a good fit for both of us. And if it's a great fit, we can discuss it. And if it's not a great fit, that's fine too. No pressure either way. Booking this call is going to help you no matter what. Okay, so here is what to do next. You're going to hop on over to lainelipsky.com/call, www.lainelipsky.com/call. That's my booking page. It's going to take you to my calendar, and from there you'll select your time zone, you'll pick your time, and then we call you at the time that you chose. And listen, in this call, we're going to listen to you like nobody's business. We're going to just hear what's not working for you, and we're going to help you create a custom game plan for reaching your personal parenting dreams. That's what we do over here. And we have a limited number of spaces, and it is on a first come, first serve basis. So if you don't see any openings when you first go over there, you can always check in tomorrow, but they do go fast because they are free. And we just want to make sure that the right people are booking the calls and taking advantage of these before they fill up. Okay, we are waiting for you with open arms. We really are. And in closing, I just want to thank you for coming here today and for joining me. It's been wonderful to spend time with you. And I look forward to talking with you soon. Take good care of yourself, take good care of your kids, and have a beautiful day.